Ever wonder what it's like to be on the crew of an NHRA team during race weekend? What if it was defending NHRA Pro Mod World Champ Ricky Smith? Well, you're going to want to watch this.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Inside Drag Racing. This week, we're going to be following NHRA Pro Modified Champion Ricky Smith. So to get started, let's go to the U.S. Nationals, the biggest drag race in the world in Indianapolis, Indiana, and take a look at Ricky's performance at that event. Here with the call on that, Brett Kepner.
That'll bring up the reigning world champion, the man everybody is gunning for, tricky Ricky Smith, against one of his toughest rivals, Danny Rowe.
Ricky needs to go home. There's no problem with that. Ricky needs to go home, and I want to be the guy to do it.
About 34 of them like to see me go home here, but I ain't planning on it if I can help it, Ted.
There is no love lost between these two. Smith purges the nitrous oxide system in the red and white car on the left side of your screen. Rowe is waiting patiently in the pre-stage beam. There could be a burn down here. We'll have to wait and see who stages first. It's Rowe going in quickly. Ricky is going to take the full 7 seconds to go in. And they leave the starting line wheels up. It's Ricky Smith by a half a car length, 589 to a 591. He advances past one of the toughest drivers in the field.
Man, we need that round for the points. I mean, that was a big round right there, and I went after it. I mean, the track was good. I said, I raised the leave. I just went for kill, and we made a good run.
The brand new IDGSupply.com Chevy Camaro of world champion Ricky Smith heats the tires. This is a new Jerry Pickle race car that debuted here at Indy.
Those guys there that I got to run, they run a lot of gear ratio. They get after it real good down low, and they run good down low. So if I can just get some sun on the track, it'll help me. But other than that, it's going to be good racing up there. You know, man, old man going to have to get off the clutch again.
And in fact, this drag race should be one of the closest of the round because both drivers recorded 5.89 second first round victories, and even their reaction times were very similar. Texan Nizer stages first. Ricky takes his time and goes in second, and they leave together again. But problems for Nizer as flames exit the headers, and Ricky crosses the line at 5.90 seconds in a very consistent victory.
How new is this car, and how many laps do you have on it coming into this weekend?
I think we had 10 runs coming on it this weekend. You know, it seemed like it was a real good car. I was hurting a little on speed with it. We worked on that part of the back end, you know, to get some downforce off. But hey, them Jerry Pickle race cars, they're just bad.
We'll present a drag race that may actually be more important than the final round. It sounds crazy, but in this Ricky Smith versus Troy Coughlin matchup, if Troy Coughlin can beat Ricky here and then win the final, he may actually move into the point lead leaving this event.
Ricky speeded up to a 90. You slowed down to an 89.
Well, I mean, you know, we keep picking at this thing to try and make this Jakes.com car a little bit faster, and Ricky's got a load in his pocket.
Yeah, he's taking it easy on us, you know. I hope I make him have to run that thing out the back door this time.
Some strong words there from Troy Coughlin, but bear in mind if Ricky Smith wins this round, he will not only stay in the points lead, he will advance to his second NHRA U.S. Nationals final round. Smith takes every bit of time allotted to stage up, and they leave the line. It's a war. Ricky Smith wins it on a hole shot. That's why they call him Tricky Ricky. Watch the replay as Smith holds off the turbo car by 33/10,000ths of a second.
Air's cooling down. Track got 2 or 3 degrees cool that time, Ted, but we left it alone. I just run him hard as I could, you know, and I told you we need to melt that snowball a little bit, and it looks like we did.
Ricky is remarkably composed considering the fact that he's going into his second NHRA U.S. Nationals Pro Mod final. This ought to be great. That brings up the most important drag race of the year for most competitors, the most important drag race of a career for many of these drivers. Pete Farber in the CRC Brake Clean Dodge Daytona is in his first NHRA U.S. Nationals final. Ricky, on the other hand, won this event in 2003. He's been a world champion in a myriad of associations, and nobody has ever won this event 2 times. The U.S. Nationals final round is on the line. Ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Smith wins the U.S. Nationals and becomes the first man to do it twice. Farber runs into tire shake. Ricky wins everything.
I mean, I know I keep saying I'm going to retire, but I am. If I win this championship, ain't nobody stopping me from retiring. Me and God done talked. That's it. If I can pull this deal off, and that's the reason I'm trying so hard, I'm give out. I'm 60 years old. I'm whooped doing all this work between rounds. I'm amazed that God keeps letting me win, because Ted Jones has watched me win a lot of races in my career, and the good Lord's been riding with me. Thank you. Thank IDG. Main of all, thank my wife for 42 years of putting up with a lot of hell and a lot of hard times. Thank Melly Allen, NHRA! Woo! All right.
So Ricky Smith wins the biggest drag race in the world with a very emotional top-end interview. Now, when we come back, we're going to follow Ricky down to Charlotte, North Carolina for that NHRA event and look at what goes on between the scenes in the pits, and also we'll meet Ricky's sponsor. Stay tuned.
Inside Drag Racing is being brought to you by ARP, the world leader in racing fastener technology. Precision turbo and engines, the winning edge in boosted performance. Orla, the world's most winning exhaust. And by Aeromotive. We know it, we race it, we live it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Ricky Smith, the defending champion of the Pro Modified Series with the National Hot Rod Association. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ted Jones. Welcome to ZMAX Dragway, just outside of Concord, North Carolina, for the Pep Boys NHRA Carolina Nationals and our special coverage here on IDR of the IDG car, Ricky Smith's Camaro. Potent nitrous oxide injected car, fresh off a win at Indianapolis, and we're going to follow Ricky through his weekend here. Ricky, what do you do when you first get here before you qualify? What's the procedure?
Well, we warm the car up, as he saw, and then we take the valve covers off, adjust all the valves, check the spring pressure. Once that's done, then I hook a chiller back up to it, and I cool the motor down. I'll get it back down to about probably 80, 85 right now. And then right before we go up, I'll knock it down to about 65 degrees on the temp.
What else do you look at? You look at track temperature, air density?
Oh yeah, I'm constantly up there watching the track temp, you know. Track temperature is a big thing. You kind of, you know, I got a feel for what I want to feel, you know, where it's at. And then we got more or less a weather station inside that we keep up with humidity, temperature, altitude. And most of all, humidity will show you one thing, but we keep up with what we call water grams. And that's a very important thing, is how much water is actually in the air. That'll tell you more about how much power you got to work with.
You like to have less water?
Less water makes more power.
More oxygen.
More oxygen, but it's pretty tough here today. It's up into 115 grams of water. Where kind of ideal for us is 60, 70 grams of water.
Okay, let's talk about your engine, prepared by Pat Musey, right? Tell us about how big is this motor?
This is a 903.
903? That's ridiculous.
We've been running 903 now for about 3 years or so, and well, we run fuel injection. There's only probably 2 or 3 cars out here on nitrous that runs fuel injection. Most everybody runs carburetors, but we use fuel injection to put the fuel in the car. These are nitrous lines, which we put there's 2 on the bottom, 2 up here, so we have 4 systems of nitrous that comes on this car, and everything's on before 2 seconds into the run.
Now wait a minute, you've got 4 stages?
4 stages.
And that's less than 2 seconds.
Less than 2 seconds, they're all on.
So you better be hooked up.
We're either going for it or we ain't going.
Now, what kind of horsepower are you going to make?
This thing makes about 1,800, no nitrous. We're figuring around 2,600 with nitrous.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. All right, you know, folks, let's take a look at Ricky's first qualifying round. Then we'll find out what adjustments he makes after that.
See the nitrous oxide purge coming out of that red IDG Camaro. And Ricky leads the points with just a few races to go. Matuzik, the executive from Aero Motive, continuing to ascend the ranks, getting together with Danny Rowe in Pro Modify. They are off and running. Matuzik and Ricky Smith. 596.1 for Steve Matuzik, 596.8 for Ricky Smith. Good enough for 4th and 5th.
Okay, Ricky, you were looking at the computer. What did we learn?
We were just a touch soft on the gear changes. Actually, I was a little too aggressive in low gear, and I was a little bit soft on the gear changes. You know, we could have probably run a 95, you know, maybe high 94, but that was about it right there. Well, they're taking the clutch out. We got 3 discs in it, so they have to cut all 3 discs. I inspect the floaters and the hat to make sure they're not got, you know, all burnt up or warped up. Normally they go back in, but they cut the disc on the machine to flatten them back out and get the glaze off of it. And then we get them back in, and I have to re-zero it. We have to reset the air gap, and then set the switches again, which turns the nitrous on. You got to be almost aggressive in these cars so they spin across there instead of letting them hook up and do what they want to do. If you get the tire speed too slow on that way they got the starting line, it's level and then it goes downhill. The car will go over the hump, bury the back of the car, stand the wheels up. So I probably made the right call to get down, but you know, you just got to watch it when you try to run 60 foot the way you should. You'll get too slow a tire speed on that kind of track.
Back on Inside Drag Racing as we continue to cover the IDG Camaro of Ricky Smith, defending world champion in NHRA Pro Modified. Ricky, sometimes you go up at the track and you look around and then you come back and you tell the crew to adjust things on the car. What are you doing up there?
I'm looking at track temp, you know, and how big the ball spots are right where we take off and stuff like that to see how hard I can get after it, you know. And unfortunately, that run, the track was 10 degrees colder than it was the run before. I think we'd made the right call. It's just they put that oil down about 3 cars in front of us, and we were just driving off to the right up there, and the car got out there about 300 or 400 feet, started just getting real close to the center line, and I had to shut it off.
Could you see Rowe coming over?
I wore a closed-up helmet, so I didn't really see him. Then the crew said both of you were trying to get towards each other. So, yeah, I just try to drive my side, and once in a while I down there past 1,000 foot. If I'm straight, I'll kind of peek over there. But, you know, I didn't know anything until they told me that, you know.
Yeah, he was right there with you.
Right.
And he was coming over, too.
Right. That's what they said. So, ours was because of oil in that left lane. I don't know what happened to him, but we were on about a 200 better run according to the time and everything, you know, to the 330-foot mark. So we were probably going to run 594, maybe a 593, but we were going to pick up a couple that round if we hadn't had that oil down.
Okay, now, sometimes you come back after you examine the track, you haven't taken the car up yet, and you'll tell the crew to change something on the car because of what you saw. What do you have them change?
I'm just looking at, like I say, the track, what I think it'll stand, and sometimes I may change the gear ratio in the transmission, you know. I mean, if the track won't stand that much gear ratio, I'll change transmission ratio, or I'll change a 4-link in a heartbeat on it because I work on these cars a lot, and, you know, it ain't nothing for me to make a 4-link change, but right now the car is really pretty nice. It's been a good car. It's a new car. We won Indy with it right out of the bat, so I'm not fooling with the car. I'm just going to wait and see what the track does tomorrow.
This edition of Inside Drag Racing is being brought to you by ARP, the world leader in racing fastener technology. B&M Performance, quality performance products that work. Flowmaster, the exhaust technology company. And by Hurst Shifters, the world's #1 shifter.
Tell us a little bit about Ricky's motor.
It's a combination, really, we've been working on for the last 5 years. You can't get anybody better to get it down the racetrack. So it lets me kind of concentrate on the motor, but also he'll give me feedback on a motor that I can rely on, you know what I'm saying? So it's been a good relationship, it's been good. So
903 inches, you have to notch the block for the rod clearance?
Well, when I built it, they had 865s. It's, you're crazy, 903, it ain't gonna work till we started out running them, you know. Now they all got 903s, but it's a lot of work, you know, but it takes a lot to keep that thing together, to keep it fed with enough air. And the fuel injection that I've worked on since '96, the motor kind of played into our hands because you're not limited to a carburetor where you start losing, you know, booster signal and all that. So it kind of really played into our hands, the fuel injection and the big motor.
You got any more Musi bullets in there?
Oh yeah, got some more at the shop. We got plenty of bullets.
Back on Inside Drag Racing, some of the things the fans may not understand is that Ricky Smith works on his car everywhere. The engine, you saw him there, now he's underneath doing some sort of adjustments back there to the rear end. That's Ricky. He works hard between rounds. That's how you get to wear that #1. Now, also, it helps you get a sponsor. A lot of people wonder, what does IDG stand for? So we caught up with their CEO, Charlie Lingenfelter, and asked him that very question.
Well, IDG stands for Industrial Distribution Group, and we are a global industrial distributor of maintenance, repair, operating, and production supplies. And obviously our correct name is Industrial Distribution Group, but we go by IDG. And we sell everything it takes to keep a plant running and for it to make its parts and components that it ships out to the factory. And so we have over 100,000 items in stock, and you order today, we ship today. We also have about 450 of our associates in customers' plants where they run the supply chain side of the indirect materials.
Give us an example. What would IDG distribute as just generally?
Well, generally it's cutting tools, abrasives, hand power tools. So anything to machine a part, keep the part cool. We're a large metalworking fluids distributor, and we also sell the hand and power tools it takes to assemble a product before it leaves the plant.
Now, you're not just involved with racing because of sponsorship of Ricky. You were involved in racing much earlier, and a lot of our listeners obviously know the name Lingenfelter.
Yes, I'll get emotional there for a second. My brother and I raced since I was 9 years old and he was 14 years old. And we've raced most of our young life. And in 1972, I quit racing to go to work for a living because racing's fun, but it's hard to make a living. My brother John, and this car behind us was a car we won the U.S. Nationals in, the biggest race of the year. We won in 1972. I went off to work for a living, and John went off to be a 14-time NHRA champion and quite involved in motorsports and high-performance automobiles, built a company called Lingenfelter Performance Engineering. So racing's in my blood, but I don't do this because I like racing, and I don't do this because I want to sponsor a car. We do this to connect with our customers.
And that's what this lounge is all about. These are customers in here.
Correct. And here at ZMAX Dragway in Charlotte, North Carolina, we have a 90-seat suite, and our customers are here, and we make sure they have a great time. We get them down the starting line. We have drivers come up in the suite. They'll sign autographs, and quite frankly, our customers are in many cases sponsoring cars here. We'll have about 20 salespeople here today, and our job is to make sure that everybody has a great time.
Your number 10 qualifier is Vaughn Smith. His Camaro. Brad Anderson for power. Supercharged car for Vaughn Smith. Of course, Ricky Smith from King, North Carolina. Pat Musey horsepower, 903 cubic inches. Big bottle of nitrous oxide for the reigning world champion and U.S. Nationals champion. Backing up in the Wicks filter zone. Ricky went 596 and 594 in qualifying to take that number 7 spot. Vaughn Smith is also a former world champion in the alcohol funny car category. Was 599 and 598 in qualifying for the 10th spot. The two very good cars get paired up in round number 1. Now, Ricky Smith, who started the year, you see him purging the nitrous system in a 2014 Camaro, but then made the switch back to the brand new car, the very swoopy looking 69 Camaro. There's engine builder Pat Musey in the house, standing over there behind the car that he builds the motor in for tricky Ricky Smith. Interesting little note, Ricky Smith was a world champion back in 1979. A car called Keith Fowler's Country Shindig, Ford Maverick. So Ricky Smith, Vaughn Smith, no relation by the way. Ricky, another purge of the nitro system before he brings that car into the stage feeds. That's so cool. I just love that. Do it again one more time, just for good measure. Vaughn Smith is in, waiting for Ricky Smith. Light that second light. Here we go. Little bit of advantage to Vaughn Smith in an All-Anabi card. He might take Ricky Smith out round number 1. Yes, he does by 7/10,000ths of a second on a hole shot. Vaughn Smith goes 596.3, 239 to win. Ricky Smith goes quicker, 592.9. Ricky Smith was 69 on the tree. Vaughn Smith was 35 on the tree, and Vaughn Smith made a slower elapsed time work by 7/10,000ths of a second.
And with that, we'll bring to a close another edition of Inside Drag Racing. Ricky Smith, no matter what happens here, you still leave with a points lead.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing, I guess, Ted. You know, we've had a good year. Won a couple races again. I mean, anytime you can be winner and runner-up or leading the points here the last half of the season, I mean, you can't say you've had a bad year no matter what happens. So
you won Indy.
We just won Indy, the biggest race of the year, you know, and leading the points. So it just sucks that we didn't run good here at our sponsor's home track, but anybody knows anything about racing, that's the way it goes. We're just glad we went down, we give it a race. Hey, got beat by 007. I mean, just wasn't meant to be.
2 races to go.
2 races to go. We still got a chance. You know, you know me, I don't give up, so we just get a little meaner.
You know, we need a thing up here that says tricky. Because he's tricky Ricky Smith, folks. That'll bring a close to this edition of Inside Drag Racing. Hope you learn more about Pro Modified and this guy and how he gets it done. See you next week.